Today on Comicstorian, Matt is finally going to snap. This is the Comicstorian channel. I take comic books, I break them down into digestible bites, giving you an audio drama of your favorite comic book. This allows you to keep up to date with your favorite storylines, but we only give you the bare bones of what's happening in the book so you can go buy the issues of getting the B-plots, getting more context, and getting more art. The point of this is to allow you to know what's going on in the world of comic books or be able to buy the next issues as we keep you up to date as to what is happening. All alterations to the panel, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. Today we're going to be covering more of Chip Zdarsky's Daredevil. When we last left off, Matt Murdock had accidentally killed a man. He decided to give up being Daredevil, and when he gave up being Daredevil, the civilians decided that they would be Daredevil and protect Hell's Kitchen. This led to a lot of the civilians getting injured or killed, so he came back as Daredevil and then decided he was going to go to prison to pay for his crimes. So Elektra stepped up to be Daredevil while he's gone, to have a Daredevil in Hell's Kitchen to prevent other people from dying. So now Matt Murdock is in prison where the warden is trying to kill him, while Elektra is in the Daredevil outfit running around Hell's Kitchen protecting those individuals, pretty much telling them all that she's there to replace Matt Murdock because she's Elektra. When we last left off, she was training a young girl to potentially be her sidekick, while Matt realized he's kinda screwed in prison. Now let's cut into Daredevil issue number 31, and if you like this style of content, consider giving this video a like and letting me know what you like about it down below. Matt leans back in his cell, clutching his side, the spot where the knife entered his body. He had been returned to the prison, and his fight with the other prisoners is giving him some sort of street cred, which he hoped to use to help him find out how the warden has been getting people killed. Marcus and Trevor step in front of his cell, asking him if he wants to go play cards, but Matt turns them down, wishing to be alone. Marcus ushers him out, pointing out that if he keeps hiding, the prisoners that are afraid of him might rethink that. But their conversation is interrupted by another guard, who motions for Daredevil to follow him. Warden Hollis wants to see Mr. Mask here. Meanwhile, back at her apartment, Elektra continues to lecture Alice, who is sitting sulkingly. Enough of this, Elektra snaps, throwing the young girl boxing gloves and beginning to pull on her own. You've fallen off the proverbial horse. It's time to get back up, she says simply. But Alice is shocked, pointing out that she shot a man last night. No, you didn't. He was a member of the Hand. He was already dead. That's why he turned to dust, Elektra reminds her. But Alice has had enough, storming out of the office. Elektra stares at her, sick of Alice's weakness. She just wants to punch someone. Elsewhere in the city, a bag is pulled off of Mike Murdock's head, the brother of Matt Murdock. He smiles at the gathering mob bosses before him, still pretending to be his blind brother Matt. The mobsters aren't too happy to see him, and Mike quickly gets to the point, pretending to still be Matt Murdock as he tells them that there are people in the DA's office who are interested in ousting the new kingpin of New York, Izzy Libris. That if the mobsters decide to have a bloodless coup, the DA will not pursue any of them. Hammerhead seems angry about this, grabbing Mike, throwing him to the ground, and Mike quickly glances at his partner, but Butch doesn't let on that they're the ones doing the secret plotting. Meanwhile, Elektra is moving through the city, smashing through mobsters like they're kindling. She's done playing nice, tired of trying to be like Matt, and she finally slams a guy into the wall, choking him from behind. Where is Izzy Libris? She snarls into his ear. Over at the police commissioner's office, Wilson Fisk, the current mayor of New York, is demanding to know, where is Bullseye? Questioning why the police have not found the missing supervillain yet. He grabs the cop, pushing him against the wall, his finger tightening around his face. Two officers raising their weapons, aiming them at the mayor. Fisk glances over his shoulder at them. By the time you pull the triggers, my palms will be wet with the commissioner's brains and yours. Fisk begins to state, motioning over their shoulders to where Typhoid Mary is lowering her swords to their necks. And the dead cops here, they're the ones that tried to kill the mayor, she finishes. And Misk turns back to the commissioner, once again demanding that he find Bullseye. Back over with Matt Murdock in the prison, he steps into the warden's office with the man pointing out that Daredevil has been at the center of 3 assaults. You're trying to kill me, Matt calls out the warden simply. The warden looks shocked, wondering, do you have any proof? Shut up, Daredevil tells him simply. The guards are shocked, pulling out their batons. But Matt moves quickly, grabbing one nightstick, smashing a guard across the face. He whirls back, knocking away a pistol from the other guard who reaches for it. And as the warden reaches for his panic button, Matt turns again, throwing the nightstick, shattering the call box. He grabs the remaining guard, choking him until he falls unconscious on the floor. What? Did you think I would treat you differently than the prisoners you sent after me? Daredevil asks, grabbing the warden by the throat, pushing him against the window. You're garbage. I know you're hiding something, Warden, and I don't care who you are or what your job is. I'm going to destroy you. He releases the warden, turning and walking back to the center of the room, a smile playing across Daredevil's face as he orders the warden to scream for help. The warden begins to shriek for the other guards, and Daredevil continues to smile, dropping to his knees, putting his hands up. Back over with the Kingpin, Izzy Libris stares out her window, whirling as gunshots echo throughout her penthouse. She moves for the gun that she keeps at the desk, but Elektra comes kicking through the door, throwing her side, knocking the weapon away. The Hand, Elektra demands, and Izzy covers her face, revealing that the Hand, the evil ninja organization that Elektra has been hunting, offered to bring her sons back from the dead, that Izzy just needed to provide them with Elektra. I know I shouldn't have dealt with them. I've been around long enough to know what evil feels like, Izzy whispers to her, and Elektra nods. If you made a deal with the Hand, you're as good as dead. I want them gone, and you want them gone. Send me a word when you know what their next move is, and I might not kill your surviving son, Elektra tells her, walking out of the office with Izzy breaking down behind her, crying about how tired of all of this she is. Wilson Fisk said he would take care of this. His big plan was to give me a psychopath to take care of you, Izzy gasps, pointing at Elektra, who stops at the edge of the room, looking over her shoulder. What psychopath? Bullseye, meanwhile, fires again, watching another person on the street drop, and he smiles. 7. Let's see, by my count, that means 1,663,993 to go, Manhattan! 8 days pass with Bullseye killing everyone he can find on the streets. The whole city goes on lockdown, and the police are beginning to ask everyone to stay indoors, to draw their curtains, to hide from Bullseye. Elektra drops into the streets, finding another body. His body count is up to 39 according to the old newspapers. In a secure location, Typhoid Mary straps on her swords, preparing to head out into the city to hunt Bullseye down. But Fisk grabs her arm, informing the woman that she needs to stay. Mary stares at his hand for a moment before he removes it. We're not doing this again, trying to possess each other. If you want me to stay, ask. Fisk looks away. Will you stay, Mary? She nods. I'll stay. If he comes, God help him. We'll destroy him together. Elektra keeps moving through the city, trying to find Bullseye, and she stops, turning as a voice reaches for her. Well, okay then, Spidey says as he lands nearby. It's you, isn't it, Elektra? Spidey asks, pulling out a bottle of water, and she nods, holding up her weapons. It's not exactly a secret, she points out, and she begins to tell him that she doesn't have time to talk. But Spider-Man nods, drinking his water as he explains that the entire community is trying to find this killer. I've been crisscrossing for days trying to draw him out. Spidey sits back trying to rest as Elektra tells him that she'll find Bullseye. That's what I'm worried about. What is Elektra going to do when she finds him? And is it the same thing that Daredevil would do? Spider-Man asks her. Meanwhile, over in the prison, Matt Murdock sits in his solitary cell listening. Solitary confinement is right below the warden's office, away from the rest of the noise of the prison. So Matt listens. He learns. The prisoners aren't dying by accident on work details. It's happening in the prison. The warden is covering it up, and he's sending 4 guards to kill Daredevil right now. Make it look like an accident. He hears the warden snap, and he hears their footsteps in the hallway. He pulls on his mask, and he prepares. Daredevil moves into his combat stance as the doors open. Meanwhile, Elektra is walking back into her dark apartment, with Alice greeting her from the couch, apologizing for running off. You're weak. In your own way. Elektra begins sitting next to the girl. And so am I, in ways that you are not. Everyone is a collection of strengths and weaknesses. I thought it was simple, that my path was for you as well. I'm coming to realize that trying to force a path on you might not be the right way. Alice tells her that she came back to help, that she's been pinpointing Bullseye's attacks, and it makes no sense, that he shouldn't be able to move that fast. Her phone pings and Alice's eyes widen. Another shooting, a block away, she says, and Elektra moves quickly, ordering the girl to lock the doors. Meanwhile, back in the prison, Matt dodges as the side of the gun goes off. He grabs one of the guards by the wrist, twisting him off balance, kicking another in the head. Stupid. What did he tell you? I'm just a man? That it would be easy? He asks, grabbing a nightstick, kicking another guard out the door. The last remaining guard fumbles for his pistol, but Matt levels a gun at the man's face. I'm Daredevil. I destroy supervillains and you are just regular villains, he snarls, the guard nodding, giving up, but Daredevil quickly ties him up, leaving him in the cell. It's already begun and he has no choice. He begins to move through the prison quickly, finding the door into the basement marked restricted. He slides the keycard through it, opening it with a beep. 2 guards and 2 scientists wait for him. He moves fast, throwing the nightstick to disarm one. "We gotta dump the stuff!" the scientist shouts, and Matt doesn't have time. He can't let them destroy the evidence. He whirls around, shooting the last guard in the foot before raising the weapon at the scientist. "Step away from the controls!" he shouts, but the console begins to beep and the scientist stammers about the exhaust pipes, with an explosion ripping through the prison. Elektra arrives on the rooftop, looking down, seeing Bullseye standing there. He turns to her with a smile, whirling fast, drawing his pistol and firing. "Of course it's you! It's always been you!" he shouts with glee, and Elektra begins to move quickly, blocking the round with her sai, leaping at him, twisting and attacking, knocking his knife out of his hands as she moves fast, picking it up. She wants to kill him. She can taste it. It's what Elektra would do, but not Daredevil. And Bullseye fires off another round that whizzes past her head as she dodges. "It's perfect! Killing you dressed as him! It's like roleplay murder!" he shouts, but she turns, stabbing him in the leg. "You can't stop me! I know what I have to do!" he shouts at her, so she grips the knife, moving forward and knowing what she has to do. But a voice from behind makes her pause. "You heard the man! You can't stop me!" Another Bullseye tells her from behind, stabbing her in the back. And she turns to see 3 Bullseyes. It was 4 weeks ago that Bullseye broke free. Fisk wanting the doctors of Ravenloft to allow him to control Bullseye, to make his mind more compliant. But they decided that cloning him and teaching the new minds was easier than fixing Bullseye. From his cloning tank, Bullseye heard all of their plans to clone him over and over, and he reached down, gently cutting himself with his fingernail. The doctor suddenly turned, seeing his tank growing red. They deactivated the machine, lowering him, allowing the liquid to pour out, and as the doctor reached to check Bullseye's vitals, he reached up, snapping that doctor's neck. He rolled out of the machine, pulling the pens from the front doctor's pocket, ripping his breather off. "Last thing I want to be is a pain in the ass, but would one of you mind telling me what is going on?" He gasps at them, his mouth twisting into a smile, and that is how Bullseye broke free, but back with Elektra. Bullseye pulls the knife out of her back, pain rippling through her body. She could take one of them, maybe 2 at close range, but the third is on a nearby roof with a rifle in his hand. She reaches into her belt, pulling out 2 smoke pellets. "These bastards aren't killing me today," she thinks to herself, throwing the distraction, allowing the smoke to fill the area, and she moves fast, using her sai to knock down one of them, but a knife slashes through her as the other Bullseye attacks wildly. She grabs him by the neck with a round piercing his shoulder, and they tumble off the roof, falling to a car below, slamming into it. Elektra rolls clear as more rounds rain down upon her, with Bullseye firing wildly. She grabs the other Bullseye's pistol, questioning how she's going to fight them off with their silencers, as another round ricochets into her shoulder. And it's then that she realizes what she has to do, pulling the silencer off the pistol, firing it wildly into the air, emptying the weapon. She's beginning to grow dizzy from the blood loss, twisting and falling to the ground when she looks up, seeing the shadows of Iron Man and Spider-Man getting close. "You're not killing me today," she whispers with a smile, her world going black. Meanwhile, back in his darkened headquarters as Hell's Kitchen's new boss, Butch hangs up the phone with Izzy Libris, the Kingpin, and Mike stands nearby asking how their plans are moving along. But Butch shakes his head again, explaining that their idea is to use Izzy's remaining son as leverage, and it won't work, as the guy has now left the city. "But don't worry, I can think of something," Butch tells Mike, and they both stop talking as they glance at the TV where the news is reporting that Daredevil has taken over the prison. Over at the prison, the police are now surrounding the place, with the captain in charge speaking with Cole North, telling him that it's a hostage and a biohazard scene, as the strange gas has now been leaking into the prison. "You've dealt with him before. Any idea what Daredevil might be wanting?" "Wish I knew what was going through his mind on a good day, Captain," Cole tells him with a shake of his head. But they're interrupted as a car comes speeding up and Kirsten McDuffie steps out. "Has anyone talked to my client?" she demands, and a cop comes over with a phone telling them that it's Daredevil on the line. The captain takes it, demanding to know if everyone is safe inside, but he stops as he hears the voice and he looks up in shock. He, hung up. All he said is, "I know he's here. I can hear his heartbeat. Send Cole North alone." so Cole pulls on his suit jacket. I'm going in. Meanwhile, back with Elektra, she sits up, still dizzy from her fight with the Bullseye clones. On the table, she looks around at the workshop around her, and Tony Stark tells her that she's in good hands. She asks if she managed to stop Bullseye, but he explains that Spider-Man is currently tracking him, whilst Tony Stark has brought her to his shop to fix her. You should have gone with them while Spider-Man tended to me. I assume your armor can track people. Spider-Man is a lot of things, but he's not a healer. We weren't going to let you die out there, Iron Man tells her as she struggles up, but Tony tells her to sit back down and let his nanomachines continue to work. Look, I don't really know you, but I do know the way to Tony Stark's heart is to ask for an upgrade. Make me a Bullseye killing machine, Elektra says to him, holding out her weapons, and Tony cocks an eyebrow and she smiles. Figuratively, of course. Meanwhile, Detective Cole steps into the prison looking at the destruction through his gas mask. He keeps moving, seeing several guards tied up, and as he moves into the main cell block, a prisoner tries to push him along, threatening him. But Cole whirls on him, punching him in the throat. I forgot to warn him that he was escorting Cole North, the big bad detective who took down the Daredevil. Care to try again? Matt Murdock calls to him, and as Cole steps into the main prison, he sees Daredevil sitting on the throne from the warden's office. And that concludes Daredevil's takeover of the prison. Next week, we'll be wrapping up the entire Daredevil storyline and then moving into Devil's Reign. So like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I'll see you next time right here at Comicstorian.